Well, people have always said I'm a little nutty. Welcome to Beer in Front. I'm your host, the Reverend Dave Zalatoris. Every week I'll talk about a beer that maybe we've forgotten while we're searching for those check-ins and badges. Being the Chicago beer guy, I'll also talk about great craft beer in the city of Chicago. That's Beer in Front, and it's coming up now. Welcome to episode 121 of Beer in Front. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening. This show is going to be outstanding. I'm going to talk to Andy Shirk. He is the president of Beer Nuts Brand Snacks. I love beer nuts. I've always loved beer nuts. I reached out to them. Andy was kind enough to get back to me. He sent some product over, which he didn't have to. I was going to buy it regardless, and I love beer nuts, so I buy beer nuts. But he sent over some stuff. We're going to talk about the history of beer nuts, where you could purchase beer nuts. Like I said, I love beer nuts, and you should too, unless you have like a peanut allergy. I'm sorry, Dan. But, Dan, you could skip forward to like the middle of the show. But no, if you love peanuts of any kind, snack mix, you're really going to like this episode. Guess who has COVID for the third time? That's right. It's your favorite or one of your favorite beer podcast hosts, me. I mentioned last week I had a little bit of a sore throat, and over the weekend, it turned out to be a little bit more. I tested, it was negative, everything was fine, it just felt like a cold, and over the weekend, woke up with the chills and all the fun stuff. That went away. At this point, it feels like it's a bad cold. Who knows? Maybe by the fourth and fifth time, I won't even know I had it then, whatever. So, yes, Dave Zalatoris, host of Beer in Front, is the Ric Flair of COVID, because now I'm the three-time champion of getting this disease. Woo! For my wife and for my mother, Ric Flair is a famous wrestler who is a multiple-time world champion, and that was the reference. He also says, woo, a lot. So that was the reference there.
But to be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo!
Hi, I'm Dr. Doris Forte, and I host the Visionarium podcast. The Visionarium is a space where we meet to take a deep dive and refocus on issues that once baffled us. Inside the Visionarium, ordinary people gain extraordinary vision. The Visionarium podcast publishes a new episode every week that you can hear on demand on your favorite podcast app. I invite you to join our listening community on Tuesday, August 2nd, as we launch Season 3 of the Visionarium podcast, and I'll meet you there. See you soon.
When you're done listening to this episode, head over on your favorite podcast apparatus, your player, whatever you listen to podcasts. Find my friend Dr. Doris Forte's show, The Visionarium. She puts out a new episode every Tuesday. One of my must-listens. I love Dr. Doris Forte's show. I like her topics every week. I learn something. That's one of the reasons I listen to podcasts. One, I need to learn something or be entertained, and I find I get both from the Visionarium each week. So when you're done with mine, head over to Visionarium. She just restarted again after a little summer break. She started again this week on the 2nd, I believe. So you can go back, listen to the new episode, listen to past ones, but please check out my friend Dr. Doris Forte's Visionarium. In beer news this week, and it's not really beer news or seltzer news, but I thought it was kind of funny. Tito's Vodka has come out with Tito's in a can, and it looks like a can of seltzer, but in reality, it's just an empty can. They're selling you an empty can for $20. Now, you need to go to the website and read the whole page because I thought it was funny. Go to titosvodka.com, click on Tito's in a can, and you could read about this. But the empty can looks like a can of seltzer or something like that. And on there, there's recipes so you could make your own concoction and just carry it around like you would a can of seltzer. So head over to titosvodka.com. Next weekend, on August 13th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, they're going to have the annual Barrel and Flow Fest. This features over 30 black-owned breweries. There's vendors, bands, DJs. This is on my bucket list of festivals that I want to go to one of these days. Revolution in Chicago, they're putting out a collaboration with the great 18th Street Brewery. They put this out last year. It's out again this year. It's called Shop Talk. I'm going to have it next week on the show. I remember it last year, and it was really good. So if you're in the Chicago area, look for Shop Talk from 18th Street and Revolution. And if you're in the Pittsburgh area next weekend, definitely check out Barrel and Flow. Something just came out from Allagash on Thursday the 4th. They're putting out their first cider. Now, it looks like it's only in the tasting room right now. It's a 6.1% cider. They say they're going to do different batches, and this looks really good. They posted a picture of it, and it's aging in a barrel. So I don't know if this is a bourbon barrel or what type of barrel this is, but you know if it's coming from Allagash, it's got to be good. So keep an eye out for that. Huge news in the city of Chicago where Goose Island released details of the Bourbon County brand stout that's going to happen the day after Thanksgiving. There's a plethora of different variants. They're going to have the regular one, which is going to be a 14.5%, and they've got a bunch of other ones. They're going to have one that's supposed to taste like a biscotti, which I'm kind of interested in that. They're going to have a coffee one this year. There's one that's supposed to be like a Fig Newton, a barley wine. Now, the proprietor, this is, I don't know, this sounds like it's interesting. It's going to have banana, coconut, and pineapple. I'm not sure how all that's going to work with the barrel aging process, but I guess you'll have to wait until the day after Thanksgiving to check it out. Alchemist, they're the brewers of such great beers as Heady Topper and Focal Banger. They're eliminating the plastic pack techs that you see with 4-packs and 6-packs, and they're going to use a biodegradable plant fiber that should be coming out this week. I wonder if more breweries will start using them. No, that's pretty cool news from the Alchemist. Also, finally, remember, I don't know, what was it, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, something like that, ice beers were big. You couldn't go anywhere. Every brewery was putting out an ice beer. Well, if he doesn't put out an ice beer, he's missing out on a golden opportunity. Vanilla Ice is opening up a brewery in Florida. So if you live in Florida, you could pick up some beer from Vanilla Ice. Welcome back. I am honored to have on the podcast Andy Shirk. Andy is the president of Beer Nuts Brand Snacks. They've been a family-owned company in Bloomington, Illinois, making tasty snacks since 1953. Andy, thanks for taking time out to chat today.
Hey, you're welcome. Happy to be here.
This is the 70th year now of Beer Nuts. Can you tell folks about the history of Beer Nuts and your family's involvement in the snack business?
I can do that. It's a big history with approaching our 70th birthday here, but it goes way back to further than 70 years to 1937. So the story has it is that my grandpa's brother, my great uncle Arlo, worked for a store in downtown Bloomington, Illinois, called the Caramel Crisp Shop, and he was I think just finishing up high school. And the guy who owned the store said, I'm going to shut it down or sell it. And with the help of my great grandfather, my great uncle Arlo purchased the store and sort of took it over and was going to make that his career. And with that store came the recipe, of our what today is known as our original peanut, the Beer Nuts original peanut. And so he took it over in 1937, and soon after he got married, and he was on his honeymoon in Chicago on Ogden Avenue, and got in a car accident and passed away. And so my grandfather, who was playing basketball at USC at the time, came back to Illinois and helped my great grandfather and the family sort of take over the store and run the store. And so they ran it from that point through the 40s and 50s, and in World War II and all that, and kind of converted it in that time frame to more of a restaurant than anything. They were known in the past originally for selling an orange drink, caramel apples, popcorn, and the Redskin peanuts, as they were called. And then to people who were going to movies and things like that close by. And then they really became more of a restaurant selling hamburgers and French fries and things like that. So, but that whole time they were selling this Redskin peanut, and they had a potato chip distributor coming through regularly, a guy named Eldridge Brewster, and he said, I think I can sell these if you want to package them up. And my grandpa was not too interested in taking much risk at that point. The business was supporting 4 families, and he didn't want to really do too much else beyond what he was doing. But Brewster was persistent and eventually said, all right, I'll give it a try. And so he did. They created Shirk's glazed nuts, as they were called. Brewster started selling them on his potato chip routes. And so he saw some success there, especially in bars and taverns. And after about a year of doing that and some pretty steady growth, they decided, okay, this is a good product, but we should probably call it something else. And so they were choosing between bever nuts because they taste good with beverages, nice broad appeal, or beer nuts. And I always say, thank God they chose beer nuts and trademarked it, because that's really, helped sustain our business for the 70 years to come. So off and running they were as partners, as beer nuts. The Brewsters did the sales and marketing and distribution, and the Shirks did the manufacturing. From the 50s, we grew from central Illinois to all of Illinois to all the Midwest, and into the 60s, another great uncle was on the West Coast, and he was set up West Coast distribution. And into the 60s, we were in 50 states and have been ever since. So as we got into the 70s, we'd moved factories a couple times. We moved into our current facility that we're in today in 1974. We started adding other products like our cashews and our almonds at that point. Into the late 70s. And as we got to the early 80s, or 1980, we hit a peanut shortage. There was a drought in the Southeast, and that meant we were only able to fill about a quarter of our orders that year. And so our growth sort of took a step back at that point. We persisted and continued on, but at that point, that's when we bought Brewster's out, and so they were out of the picture. And so the Shirk family was doing everything from sales and marketing and running the whole operation. So from there, through the 80s, we fought off Eagle Snacks, or I should say through the 90s, we fought off 80s and 90s, we fought off Eagle Snacks from Anheuser-Busch and their distribution network. And the honey roasted comparable product that's still out there. It's good product, just a little bit different than what we do. And into the 2000s, where we started adding things like trail mixes and our mixed products, and best known being our original bar mix, which sort of created an angle on the trail mix category that's been very successful for us, and then also copied by many others. So into the 2000s, we were doing fine, but I came around in about 2008, and we sort of at that point we had about 8 products, but since then we've continued to innovate and add new products, and sort of change our operations, or maybe modernize our operations. And have seen substantial growth since then and through today, and we're continuing to see more and more growth now. So it's an exciting time. We were a beneficiary of the pandemic, in a sense that people stayed home, drank more beer, and ate more beer nuts, and so that's been very good to us. And we've been able to grow our customer base as a result, and continue to grow going forward. So that's the long short version of the long story, I guess.
Yeah. So you need to have a sip of beer just to catch your breath after that.
That's true. I do. Yeah. We thankfully we do have a kegerator in the office, and so we do keep beer on tap as as I think is only appropriate at beer nuts. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You're still a family owned company. You're
Right.
based out of Bloomington, correct?
Correct. So we've been here. We've never left, but there was a period of time where we just actually finished bringing back in-house all of our packaging. We were using great co-packer in Grand Rapids for 16 years, I think, or maybe 18. That helped us develop our mixed products, but that's all back in-house as of a couple weeks ago. So yeah, everything is made and processed and packaged here in Bloomington.
Oh, excellent. My first involvement, I remember having beer nuts as a kid, and family members would take me to taverns, and I had to be like 8 or 9 years old, and that probably explains a lot today. But I remember having either like a Coke or a kitty cocktail and having beer nuts, and I loved them. But I think in my 8 or 9 year old mind, my thought process was, oh, these are like forbidden. They're coated in beer.
Right.
What exactly is the beer nut process, and what makes them so delicious?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you first. That's a common story. I hear a lot of those of first experiences. We're in a bar with their parents or their grandparents, but we do have a proprietary recipe that we use to create beer nuts. But there is no beer in there, and the ingredients are quite simple if you look at the back of the packaging. But the sweet and salty product is really what we really grew up as, and what we're known for, and that sort of flavor with that red skin still on the peanut specifically is what we're known for. But as far as the recipe goes, can't tell you too much more. But it's sustained us well, and we haven't changed it from the day we technically acquired it. So been made the same since at least 1937.
So if people out there are celiac, you could have beer nuts. They're not made with beer. They are gluten-free. So you could feel free to have beer nuts.
Yes, please, and have plenty of them. But
yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned starting out that a lot of the business was in taverns. And over the past generation or two, taverns are not as abundant as they were, in the 70s and 60s. How did you pivot to more of a retail or even like a website-based sales model?
Sure. Yeah. So we've gone through quite a few transitions along those lines. But we grew up in the bars, and at one point we were able to say we're in 90% or 95% of bars and taverns across the country. But as the restaurant sort of came in, or the food service came into those locations, that sort of pushed us out. Higher margin opportunities kind of led to pizzas and things like that, where someone could make more money, and so that pushed us out in a lot of cases. But at that point, we moved to convenience stores and grocery stores, and that was a helpful, I think, transition. And so we've gone through a focus on convenient, a focus on grocery. We're really heavy in grocery at this point in time, and so it's really as the market changes and our customer base sort of evolves as well. We move, but we still have bar customers and tavern customers all over the country that we sell to directly. But we sell to distributors that service them, and we'll sell a case to a bar if they want it. They can find us at, like, say, Walmart, pick us up and either take us home, or we've got bar customers that'll take us to the bar too. So we've got a lot of different channels over 70 years that we've utilized and still utilize, and so we've probably done it or doing it now. One of the channels, vending's the other one that sort of comes to mind. We just continue to evolve as the opportunities present themselves. But we like to be everywhere, but can't be everywhere. But we're trying our best.
One thing that I noticed, and as I'm getting older, I have to keep an eye out for my sodium and my sugar intake. And out of all of the stuff that you've sent, I've noticed that all of the products have a lot less sodium, a lot less sugar than your typical snacks that you could pick up off the shelf. When I know you said the nut recipe's been the same forever, but when you're developing new snacks or new flavors, is this something that you consciously work towards, or is it part of the beer nut magic that takes away all the salt and sugar?
Yeah, it's probably a bit of the magic, but it's so going back, we haven't changed the recipe, so it's that's what it's been. And I think going back a couple of decades, we were probably high on the sugar and salt scale. Now we're low because you're seeing heavily seasoned foods and snacks, and so more salt, more sugar. But as we develop new products, we're paying attention to that. But I always say we're not health food. We're it's we are nut products, but it's not health food. But we do pay attention to it, and I watch that stuff pretty closely. And so my goal in our R&D and product development is to really think ahead of where we have to be. We should just make healthy food because that's what people need, and so let's try to eliminate what's not essential that could drive down the health value if we can. So, and typically we're able to find a way to do that. So.
Of the newer products that are out, like the bar mix is excellent. And you sent over a few flavors. The one that I really love is the Cantina mix. How did that come about?
That was the result of a lot of R&D and development. We use some suppliers. We don't create all the components of our mixed products. And so working with some of the options that some of our suppliers had, along with our original peanut, and trying to evolve from the bar mix. And at that time we had hot bar mix as well, and just trying to think of something new and different with the newer flavor profiles and flavor trends that we were seeing. We came up with Cantina mix. And what is interesting is we created the product, we named it, and then it's been out a while, but we redeveloped it recently to make it a little bit more authentic with the help of Twang. Their name's on the package now too. So they helped us really develop a flavor for the peanut itself, as well as some of the components. We had some things in there that we needed that weren't quite authentic to the Cantina name. And so they helped us sort of navigate that challenge, and we came away with a better product that we're seeing growth in, sales growth in. So consumer acceptance and repeat business. So yeah, it's been an evolution over, I'd say, at least 5 or 6, maybe 7 years now.
Yeah. But, and there's like avocado crisps in there. So yeah, it's very good. I don't want to mention the other product, but it reminds me of a seasoning product that you might be familiar with. If you like that, the nice tangy, got a little heat, I think people would really love the Cantina mix. I thought it was great.
What's the other product you're referring to? It's a
Tahine.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's great example. Yeah. That's good stuff. So yeah, I'd agree with you. So.
Yeah. So that's excellent. When coming up with like new products like that, Michael Jordan missed a shot now and then. Babe Ruth sometimes struck out. Have there been products that you look back now and say, oh, I don't know about that one?
Yeah, we've got a graveyard of a few. So we just finally sort of transitioned our hot bar mix into our habanero bar mix. Okay. And so the hot was we thought it was hot when we developed it, but it wasn't hot enough. And well, some people liked it. It wasn't going anywhere as far as we were concerned. And so we redeveloped it with more of the habanero focus, and the acceptance has been very strong. And actually just a couple of retailers picked it up this week, national retailers. So we're pretty excited about that one. But we also had a thing called crunch nuts back in the day that were a peanut covered with a corn base, and gave it more of kind of a chip flavor and look, but it didn't really fit the brand well. And we weren't producing it. We were importing it actually, and then packaging it. And so we had the Cajun Devil crunch nut and a sesame and a honey mustard, and those were okay. But I think when I came back, we still were selling one of them, and I said, that's enough. I don't think that's going anywhere. And everybody was happy to get rid of that. And we also had we called I think it was our old fashioned peanut. And it was just a kettle cooked blanched peanut, skinless peanut. And, you can get those from a lot of people. And so there was just not sure it made sense for us to be doing that. And so we discontinued that at some point. And then even now we have what we call a glazed peanut, which it's a blanched peanut, no skin, but run through our normal process. And so some people like that because it doesn't have the skin, but it doesn't quite have the same flavor either. So it's different, but it's not a winner. So so we try to our goal now is to add 3 and remove 1 every year. So and we'll see if we can hit that this year, but we should. But I think that's a fun way. We always got to be sort of kind of cleaning out what's not great. But you always disappoint a few people when you do that.
What new flavors are you thinking about putting out this year?
Well, it's funny. We're going through a process right now, and there's we're not narrowed down yet, but the conversations have been from ranch to dill to buffalo to a blend of multiple flavors. We've got a sort of a popcorn kind of product we're messing around with right now. That's pretty good, tastes fantastic, and that we're trying to see if it fits with our brand and if we can do it. So, but there's we're doing more seasoning of just the original peanut, and as well as continuing to grow on our mixes. But we're historically pretty particular because there's a lot of Me Too's we could do and just brand, but we'd like to keep our sort of reputation of putting out a premium product at a normal cost or a market cost for our consumers. So I can't tell you exactly where we're going to end up on those three, but those are sort of the angles we're going at right now.
Yeah, even like the flavors of the original bar mix.
Mm-hmm.
It just, for me and my taste buds, it's a great flavor. Like some of the pretzels in there have this honey mustard going on. You have the nacho cheese flavor combination with the sweet and saltiness of the regular beer nuts. So yeah, even like the regular, that's a winner. Please don't change a thing with that.
We won't. And the other one I should mention that people always are surprised or haven't had that's good that we're sort of moving on is our chocolate covered original peanut.
Okay.
So just enough chocolate on there to cover it, so you're tasting the chocolate, but you're not drowning out the peanut flavor. And so and you've got the salt in there that really makes it kind of pop. But we're also trying that on our cashew as well, and I suspect we'll try it on the almonds and some others too. But that's been a fun one. That's a redevelopment that goes back 10 years. Just trying to make it a little bit better and package it a little bit better, because once people have it, they tend to want to keep having it. So
now you mentioned that like Walmart distributes stuff here locally in Chicago. I see you at Binny's. Where can people nationwide pick up or worldwide pick up beer nuts, whether it's online or whether it's in stores?
Sure. Well, you can get our full offering at beernuts.com. And so we're there. You can see us or find us in Amazon. You can find us on walmart.com. You can find us in Walmart stores. Let me see where else. Thinking regional grocer. Typically your regional grocer we're not in Kroger right now. We'd like to be, but we're not right now. And we're pushing on Target and Walgreens right now as well. So hopefully you can find us there. But given the channels that we have to distribute, we're typically somewhere close by. Most independent convenience stores, a lot of chain convenience stores, but especially going to grocery, that's where you're going to find us. I think you're going to see us. We've been in Jewel in the Chicagoland, and hopefully you'll find us back there every day real soon. So we've done some in and out stuff over the last couple of years, but I think we'll be an everyday item soon. So
I love beer nuts. I've been talking about beer nuts the last couple of weeks after the stuff you sent. I've mentioned the stuff. Please, folks, go out, grab you some beer nuts, even if it's just the original. If you haven't had it in years, you won't be disappointed. Andy, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I'm glad we were able to connect. I thank you for sending, a lot of the product line over. Andy, thank you so much again for coming on.
You're welcome, Dave. Thanks for having me. It's always fun to talk about beer nuts.
Yeah, so you could find them at beernuts.com or look for them in your favorite grocer or retailer. Oh, today is the beer in front. It's only fitting. And I've talked about this beer before, but I'm going to have from Haymarket, Chicago Tavern Beer. I figured since I was talking to Andy over at Beer Nuts, I always associate them with being in a tavern as I was younger. So I'm going to have Chicago Tavern Beer from Haymarket. This is in collaboration with the Twitter feed at Chicago Bars. That was a good sounding can open right there. Chicago Tavern Beer has a lovely golden color to it. Nice aroma, it just smells like a good old school beer. This is very nice. Great flavor to this. You don't get for me at least, I'm not getting a lot of the sweetness that you get with other adjuncts like corn that you would in other macro beers. This is a very smooth, easy drinking beer. Yeah, there's sweetness in there, but I don't, and maybe there is. It doesn't say what it has, what it's made of. It doesn't say on the can what the ingredients are. I'll have to check out Haymarket's website. But no, there is a sweetness here, but I'm not getting a corn sweetness from this. This is just a tasty, good, old school. You're going to pound a couple of these down. 5.5% alcohol. You could see it in the Chicago market. It's a really cool label. It has a white label with the faint blue stripes, the Chicago stars on that. Good font on this. If you see it in the Chicago area, I picked it up at Binny's. It's from Haymarket and at Chicago bars. Pick up Chicago Tavern beer. All right, welcome back. If you're a longtime listener of the show, you know that I've had a couple special one-off episodes on music. If I'm not talking about beer, I love talking about music. I've been on other music podcasts, and periodically on this show, I'm going to add an earworm of the week, a song that somehow managed to get in my head. More than likely, it's going to be an older song and one that I really like. So I'm going to try to do some obscure tracks that maybe you haven't heard in a while and are really good. The one this week is from a band called One Eskimo, and the song is called Candy with a K. So it's Kandi, and I'll include the link to the video in the show notes. This song came out in 2009, and I don't know if it ever tracked, but I remember seeing this band open for a group called Gomez, and I was blown away by the song, and I heard it every now and then on alternative radio here in Chicago, but it's a really good song. The song took lyrics from an old Patsy Cline record called He Called Me Baby, and it also sampled another group's version of the song. It's really, really good. So if you haven't listened to Candy from the band One Eskimo, give it a listen. I think it's really good. You could also go back and hear the soul song that it was sampled from. This was from a band called Candy Station, and this is spelled Candi. Very good, very cool song. I don't know if they put anything else out, but if you're digging around on Spotify, check out One Eskimo's Candy. All right, that's going to wrap things up for this week's episode of Beer in Front. I thank you so much for listening. Once again, I want to thank Andy Shirk over at Beer Nuts for coming on and talking this week. That was a lot of fun. I'm going to take a week off sometime this month, so I'm not sure. I'll have a show out next week, but sometime in August, I am going to take a week off to recharge the batteries. I have a couple good ideas for some future shows, so stay tuned for that. All right, have a good week, everyone. I will see you next week on the show.